Hello, my name's David Gordon and you're welcome to this presentation on media and creativity in travel and tourism. When I tell people I'm a travel writer, you can imagine the reaction they have. I've been very lucky. I've squeezed down the two narrowest streets in Europe. Incidentally, those are in Prague and Geneva. I've stood at the top of Europe at Jungfraujoch in Switzerland. I've taken a train up the inside of the Eiger, sampled fermented shark at the harbourside in Reykjavik, hand-fed a bison in Wyoming, celebrated New Year's Eve in Bratislava, and have driven a convertible Mustang on Route 66. However, as nice as that all is, you have to sing for your supper. I write travel features, I record podcasts, I produce videos, I take photos, lots of photos. You never know where or when a story might materialize. You have to do a lot of mingling when you're allowed to, a lot of selling yourself. There's lots of conferences, meetings and Zoom calls. You would be amazed how much travel writing is actually done from office desks rather than at the side of a sun-drenched beach. There's a lot of research. It's often said that a travel writer never actually gets a proper holiday. And I can agree with that totally. It's impossible to switch off. You're constantly keeping an eye out for a new angle on people and places. I'm the only travel journalist in Northern Ireland that writes podcasts and vlogs. Most folk only do one of those things. However, it doesn't mean I'm rolling in money. Rates of pay fluctuate regularly. It's important to be able to be creative to squeeze as much as possible out of any trip you undertake. I won't mention names here, but I can tell you a number of publications which pay nothing for travel features. And sadly, that's becoming the norm. They feel it's okay to pay in the currency of exposure. However, banks don't accept that form of currency to pay your mortgage. There's a misconception that travel writers get paid to travel. That's not strictly true. Travel writers, when they get paid to research and write stories. Granted, sometimes the travel to inspire those stories is discounted or free, but they aren't getting paid to travel. The feature I'm most proud of has now been published a number of times. I travelled to Malawi with Habitat for Humanity to see the work they do in villages there. It's a type of story that's been reported on many times. However, I was determined to find a new angle, something that hadn't been covered before, and it came to me while I was back at my hotel writing up some notes. It really bugged me that I wasn't able to find the village on Google Maps. I spent hours looking at satellite images and guidebooks and got nowhere. It dawned on me that the village actually wasn't on the map. My very basic, simple hook was the fact that my contribution to the people of the village was to put them on the map. The rest of the article built up around that. That article went on to be published in national newspapers and magazines and was the subject of a 2-hour radio programme. Repurposing content plays a major role in travel media. I have years and years worth of audio, video and text material, so why not use it to create fresh features? Evergreen is one of the big buzzwords. While events may change, attractions and destinations in general remain the same. By way of example, I have 108 podcasts on iTunes. Podcast 1 is still as relevant today as it was when it was created 8 years ago because I purposely made the material evergreen. Many of you may well go on to management positions in the hospitality industry. In those roles, you might be required to write up brochures, create content for websites, develop e-shots to customers. However, if you look at those projects as evergreen and use material that can be repurposed from the outset, one little bit of creativity could go a long way. The travel media world covers a wide diaspora of people. Today we have a lot more than written words to take us places. Yes, we have newspapers and magazines, but now we also have Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, TikTok, blogs. It goes on and on and on. 75% of social media content now is viewed as video. Recently, due to the COVID pandemic, newspapers have closed down, the in-flight magazine market has shrunk, and even household names like Lonely Planet have all but gone. Social media has transformed the travel industry for good and bad. Everyone who travels is now a photographer, always trying to get that great image for Instagram. Everybody's now a critique writer, poised to add a review on TripAdvisor. I'm astounded at how quickly technology has moved. Back when I was 19 or 20, we still sent postcards to folk at home. We had cameras with actual film in them that you would take to the chemist when you get back to get developed. You took photographs of important things. I currently have 4,500 images in the cloud just from this year alone. Now all we have to do is check it on Facebook to let everybody on our friends list know where we are. You can't go through your timeline without seeing photographs of somebody's dinner or checking in at the airport with notes underneath saying, "Where are you off to now, hon?" We're all guilty of it. Travel and tourism businesses need to harness social media and use it to their advantage. The secret is being creative. Michael Palin, who has been making travel documentaries for many years, said recently, "Smartphones and the internet have made arrangements much easier, but made travel more of a commodity and less that a series of accidental adventures." Wherever they go, tourists inhabit their own world, one of hotels, restaurants, souvenir shops, museums, and it rarely intersects with the lives of locals. When I have the chance to visit somewhere new, I go to the museums and attractions, but often it's the places you pass on the way to those tourist hotspots that garner my attention. When I visit somewhere new, I walk endlessly, always wondering what's around the next corner. I like to see places at various times of the day, to see them in all their phases. For me, getting there is as much part of the trip as being there. I always work on the basis that the adventure starts as soon as you shut your front door. Now, you'll all recognise Poland. Some of you may have been to Krakow, and if you haven't, I highly recommend it. You can, of course, fly direct, and that's what most people do. You could be wandering around the main square within 4 hours of taking off in the plane. I, however, am different, and I worked out a road trip that saw my wife and I flying into Poznan, driving to Łódź and staying overnight in the Grand Hotel, then driving to Krakow. We enjoyed a wealth of experience by seeing a lot more of the country than others would over a 1,000-kilometre road trip over one weekend. A few years ago, I had the chance to travel the USA by train, so I planned a route that would take in Chicago, Kansas City, Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, El Paso, Houston, and New Orleans. An American friend recently told me that I've actually seen more of the states than they have. The places I travel through are known as the flyover states. So why do we travel? We travel to learn, maybe to learn a new language, to learn about history, to learn about our ancestry. We travel to escape because it provides an escape from the humdrum of daily life, adding some adventure and excitement. Holidays are called getaways for a reason. We travel to discover, maybe new foods, new cultures, new places. We travel for the experience, communicating through hand gestures as we don't know the language, realizing that life is not that much different than our own outside of tourist areas. Travel is a journey in more ways than one. As I said earlier, the process of getting where we're going. The holiday starts when you shut your front door. For others, it's when their feet hits the sand. We enjoy the challenge, the chance to go outside our comfort zones. You wouldn't catch me doing karaoke here at home, but I bet you didn't realise that you have the karaoke champion of Comping la Grande Métairie in Brittany speaking to you today. My rendition of Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire was talked about for days afterwards around the swimming pool in the campsite shop. The thing that really defines the difference between people writing about their holiday and a travel writer is that it's not about you. The writer is the conduit for the reader to see it, to smell it, to taste it, to feel like they are there. It's about being able to transport them and offer just enough of yourself for them to feel that they're with you, but not so much that they're actually on holiday with you. Good travel writing is the ability to transport a reader somewhere and give them that sense of place. As I said earlier, the travel writing world is not one you'll make a fortune in, so I produce audio, video, print, online features, social media posts, commentary about tourism issues, copywriting, brochures, press releases, television scripts, and workshops. So in some ways I see myself as a content curator, utilising multimedia techniques to produce online and offline travel content across local, national and international markets. Understanding who you are trying to attract will have a major influence on which form of media you need to use. The ultimate goal from a media or PR perspective is a consistently engaged audience. For the travel industry, it's people through their door as a result of their media investment. Millennials are much more intuitively digital than someone of an older generation, but that's not to say media content can't be tailored for all age groups. As a content curator, I have to be aware of who might be reading my material, watching my videos or listening to my podcast. Travel and tourism businesses need to take that into consideration when they're considering how best to market themselves. Being creative never stops, and finding new ways to sell yourself or the product you're trying to sell never stops. I recently launched a new service which couldn't really be simpler. So many people try to find a way of being inventive with their business or website name, and it's hard to figure out sometimes what they're actually offering. My Travel Bites brand conveyed the idea of travel and food. Granted, my 4Monkeys media brands may be harder to decipher, but it was named after my 4 kids. Now they're all 17 plus, so they're not little monkeys anymore. So I thought about going back to basics, and I was amazed to find that the website travelandtourismcontent.com was available, and there's no confusion of what's on offer. Now hopefully you've enjoyed this little insight into travel media, and has given you some food for thought. Do feel free to visit my website, davidgordonstravelbites.co.uk, and thanks for watching.